Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn how to overcome adversity to pick fact versus fiction and see health and fitness in a whole new light. For all my athletes out there, guys, we're going to have an action-packed podcast episode for you today. I hope you learn a little bit. We don't really do much of the sports side of it. So I'm really excited to have this amazing personal trainer on here who's worked with so many athletes. I can't even list all of them. So without further ado, let me welcome to the show, Marc Dern. Marc, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, Anthony. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be on here.
I'm excited to have you. I'm really this episode is something we probably should have done the first 10 batch, but it's taken 90 episodes to really dive into the sports side of fitness. So awesome. Can't complain. So before we start, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, how you got into this field, and the floor is yours.
Sure. So my passion came from baseball. I wasn't actually athletic at a young age. I probably didn't even like sports up until 8th grade. And something happened when I went through that growing phase in life. And baseball just took off for me. And I started to look into strength coaching. I had a strength coach from 8th grade all the way through my senior year in high school. I learned a lot. And it took me to the next level. And I ended up playing in college. I played at Mercy College, Division II. I was a catcher. And my dream my whole life was to, go ahead and be a pro baseball player. However, I'm 5'8", 185 pounds. My strength was definitely there. I went as far as my career could take me. I did I went to some pro tryouts, got an independent bid. However, plan B was always the physical therapy or training side of the game. My passion was sports and being around athletes, the competitive atmosphere. So that really, I just have a lot of passion in that. And I got to give my father a lot of credit to that. Whenever I would slack off, he would tell me in the best way possible, there's that person in Alabama who doesn't have the tools that you have. They're taking an axe to a tree and working harder. So how much do you really want it? Do you want to work harder for it? Do you want to have no regrets when you get older? So I always took that, mentality and I put that towards my career now, actually. So that's kind of where sports and strength conditioning has led me to become a trainer. And I now own a company called Carter's Home Gym. So I'm definitely around the area where I want to be.
It's truly amazing. You mentioned that there's somebody out there trying harder than you. And that is so true. If you think about it, you can't take it. There's no days off. And you hear this from all the people that are the best of the best, where it's, someone else is working harder out there. And now the athletes are at a higher level so much, they're going 4 or 5 hours a day trying to improve their game.
Yeah. And now there's all these other things out there. I mean, it was never like that. And I'm not that old. I'm 33 years old. In 2010, when I graduated college, massages weren't even that big yet. Sports medicine massage. I was a catcher and I caught double headers. I probably caught 220 games in my college career. My body was killing me. And I never even knew about a sports massage. Now there's cryotherapy tanks and trigger guns and all these ways to even become at a more elite level. So, I mean, right now, the athletes of this day and age really have the tools to take it as far as they can.
Yeah, seriously. They have everything kind of given to them, or even the people that don't, that know they just got to wake up at 4 a.m., go for a run. They don't have that stuff in their neighborhood, and they really go out and do it. And it's absolutely encouraging to hear.
It was pretty much like take an ice bath, suck it up for 20 minutes, and get back on that field.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk about the playing coaching side a little bit. So there's the best athletes aren't the best coaches. And there's a lot to be said about that, where it's two different skills. And I know a lot of people would agree with that, where let's take I guess baseball. I get Babe Ruth wouldn't be the best coach to have, but his coach was the best coach to have at that time. So there's a lot to say in that aspect. And I want to talk about what makes you, or just in general, what makes a good coach and what should somebody look for in a coach when they're trying to find a trainer to work with.
Sure. I think adapting to the individualism. Everyone is different. Everyone has different strengths, different weaknesses, different injury history, which is very important. More flexibility, less flexibility, and the position they play is important as well. In baseball, you're going to train a catcher much different than a pitcher or an outfielder. Same thing in football. A quarterback is much different than a lineman. So you have to adapt, and you have to really personalize each and every athlete's program. It's really the amount of time and energy you put into somebody, and also having them buy into it as well. If the coach doesn't have the athlete, a client, buy into the program, it's not really going to work out. If they're not eating the right things, if not they're recovering properly. So there's a lot that just ties into it more than just a 1 hour session that you do.
Yeah, so true. So what would that look like? I'm out there. I'm a client, you know, I'm trying to find somebody to work with me. Let's say it's catching, something you do. What do I look for? How do I find that coach? Is it just a personality thing, or is it certain credentials you're looking for?
Well, you're definitely looking for certain credentials. You want someone with experience, someone who's coached under their belt a couple of years, who has the education, of course. And honestly, just from my experience, it's them being with you for maybe like a month or two, seeing results, feeling comfortable, and motivated. There are definitely times where, hey, I think this is the coach for me, and after 2 months or so, it hasn't worked out as well as they wanted to, and it's a little bit of trial and error. So definitely a comfortability thing, personality. They actually have to enjoy the session. It can't just be like, hey, push-ups, squat, power clean. You actually have to enjoy the session, absorb what you're learning. There are some athletes I noticed that are very coachable and some that aren't. How do you get that person that isn't coachable on the other side? So that's a difficult thing for a trainer to do.
Yeah, that's so true. That personality that you have with your client. I think that's in any type of client.
Post college, I ended up walking. I walked across the street to my new home in the North Shore of Long Island. It was in Roslyn, and I walked into a gym called Equinox. After working out there, I was training for pro tryouts. I ended up getting a job there. The head trainer wanted me to, start working there, and he thought I had, the tools that needed to be a trainer there. Little did I know, it led me to 12 years at Equinox. On the side, I was also the head JV baseball coach for my high school, where I remember being on third base, giving my team the signs, and the parents going behind the batting cage saying, "Swing now. That's up, umpire. Swing, swing." And the parents wouldn't listen to me. I had to go to the athletic director, and then we made supervising restrictions where parents cannot go behind the backstop. So just little things like that. You realize once you're in the actual game, when you're involved in it so much, there are things that, conflict you.
I want to talk about, because you worked both sides, right? So you were a JV coach and you were the trainer side of it. So right. I'm going to speak just from the training. I've never been a personal coach, but I hear it a lot from, or see it a lot from my clients that are athletes and stuff. They don't do the injury prevention workouts or working things beyond their skills in the gym with their coaches that they have in high school and college. They usually, I know college, especially D1, will bring in outside athletic coaches and personal trainers, but especially in the high school side of it, you're not getting it. So they get injured a lot, or they're a lot more prone to injury because they have so many muscular imbalances going on. And that's why they really recommend, or at least get some of them to go to a trainer. Can you talk a little more about that? Do you see a disconnect between coaching and personal training? Do you recommend that athletes that are, especially in that high school area, go to a trainer, or you think they should stick to just the coaches they have?
I definitely think they should go to a trainer. I'm sure there's, the few out there that could coach and train on the same side of the ball, on the same time. However, I do think that the high school sports coach is focused on the skills. It's focused on getting the team prepared, having the right plays, and there's an off season behind that too. In high school, mostly, in my experience, that coach is coaching another sport or they're teaching. It's really important for the athlete, if they're serious, to go find, their coach, their specific coach that's going to get them to that next level. That's going to help them improve their game, and give them the most playing time. Ultimately, the player is happy when they're playing and playing well. So I definitely think going to see a coach outside of the high school is definitely a big thing. I did that in college. Division II Mercy College, they didn't have a very good gym, very good athletic facility. I remember having this conversation with my coach. He goes, "Oh, there's a gym. You can work out there." I'm like, "No, but I don't want to lose what I worked so hard for." I trained from 8th grade through 12th grade with a strength coach in someone's garage. I was pushing dog sleds, learning how to power clean and back squat and do explosive movements for sports specific for catching. I wasn't going to do this in a little gym with just some dumbbells and some rusty barbells. I needed someone to get me there. And I went out about 10 miles away in Scarsdale, and this was a big mentor to me. His name was Vincent Sullivan. It was called Form A, Physical Therapy and Training, and then it was called FAST. And I trained with him throughout my entire college career. And he really got me to learn the difference in sports, the difference in the different athlete, how to train a football player, a soccer player, a tennis player, a baseball player. And he motivated me. Push yourself. It's really hard to overtrain. So I was probably flirting around that fine line of overtraining. But I always felt the more I worked, the harder I worked, the better I would be on the field.
Yeah, so true. Now we're going to kind of switch roles a little bit here. So what do you recommend to the people that you work with if I'm an athlete? And you can give some specific examples if you want based upon the sport, because I know it's so broad. But what should I be working on? What kind of programs should I be looking for? I mean, a lot of people can't afford a trainer. So it's, how can I make sure I'm doing the right thing to be the best at my sport?
So it matters what sport. Let's just take baseball, for example, because we're on that topic. There's an off season, a preseason, and an in season. It's called periodization. So you definitely need to be training properly for each of those seasons. Most importantly, the off season is when you're training hard, when you're putting on strength, when you're putting on power and speed. You should not be doing that in season. In season, you should be working on mobility, flexibility, and just light workouts, so you're prepared for a game. So I definitely noticed that some of the athletes I trained were still bench pressing heavy the day before they had a game. So just to break it down and simplify it, the off season is when you're really training hard. The preseason is when you want to peak. Right, so you're actually you're going to train as hard as you can up until about 2-3 weeks before the season starts, and then you taper off, and then the season actually starts, and your whole training model changes. After the season, you recover and you start the off season again. So that is, I would say, the basics to simplify things. Then as it comes to what do you do in each season, that's a whole different topic. So to start off, that's where you should think.
So let's break it down. Let's start with the off season, right?
Sure.
So every sport has its own length of off season. Some are longer than others. Some have fewer games come on season than others. So what do I look for? I mean, is there a difference between a JV player to a varsity player to a college player to a professional athlete or a semi-pro? Is there different types of off-season training each type of person should be looking for? Is it more just get out and run? What are we really focused on here?
100%. Great question. So JV player, there's a very good chance they're in phenomenal shape, but more than likely they still have those building phases to work on. Stability in every joint is very important. You have to have ankle stability, knee stability, shoulder stability. And if you just start doing power cleans with no foundation built, you're more than likely to get hurt or do it improper. So the younger you are, you need to build your foundation. So it's starting with corrective exercises, a dynamic warm-up, dynamic stability exercises, get everything nice and sound before you start working on that strength and power. Someone on the varsity level who has 3 years of strength training and athletic training under their belt, they don't need to go into that whole foundation phase. They can start a level up. You know, they should always still work on that stability because that's important. But you're at a point in your life, you're 17, 18 years old, where you can really work on putting strength and power on and focusing on your skills. Doing more hip rotation exercises. Core rotations is good for hitting, for example. So those types of things, you could do box jumps, landing on one leg. All those things are going to help you on the field. Not something you would do with someone who's just starting out. So that's a good question.
Yeah, I see it when you hit that JV, that's that awkward puberty. So
right.
A lot of them are still growing into their bodies, their muscles and bones are trying to catch up, and it's a whole disproportionate fun.
After I decided I didn't want to go into physical therapy school, it just wasn't my passion. I didn't want to do that, with older clientele and this and that. I went and got my master's degree at Hofstra. My master's degree is in sports science and strength conditioning. I lost my train of thought for 1 second there.
Puberty,
exactly. Thank you.
No problem.
So I did a whole case study, and the case study was, should you train kids at a young age, or is it going to stunt your growth? And should you not? Should you wait until you're 14, 15 years old? So several studies came out from college or pro athletes. If you were before puberty, and if you were to lift improperly and bench press and bicep curl and do the old school workouts and push your weight with the improper form, there is a chance, yes, it's going to stunt your growth. You're not doing it right. But if you have the right trainer and you're building a foundation from 9, 10, 11 years old, clients that I actually have, I'm working on their different planes of motion, their basic body weight squat, getting their hips back. I'm working on lunges. Some resistance training, very, very light. You can start dumbbell pressing. They're starting to get that shoulder stability just with the 8-pound dumbbells. And if their form is perfect, you continue along. And then they're 10 years old, 11-year-olds, and around 12, 13-year-old, they're going to hit that puberty phase. Their strength would be this much higher than someone who hasn't done that. So then when you get to a certain point when you're 15, 16 years old, someone usually starts training then and say, okay, I need to get strong. I need to put some muscle on. However, someone who started at 9 years old can start working on the skills at 15, 16 even more. And they don't have to worry about building the foundation and getting stronger and catching up to everybody else. So my advice would be, yes, find someone who is knowledgeable in training young athletes. If a parent finds someone who, my kid is special. He can hit a baseball at 6 years old, 300 feet already. It's unbelievable. He needs to actually start training properly. And you know what? Maybe that would carry along, or maybe it wouldn't. But a good trainer will get them in the right direction, give them the best opportunity for success.
Yeah, I love how you brought up the stabilization training with like that age group, because you see it a lot, and they're just all over the place.
Right.
And it's more that mind to muscle connection that they don't have yet, because their brains they're trying to connect everything because your body's growing so fast. So it's a lot when you're at that age.
I mean, you see it. A simple balance exercise, standing on one foot. I mean, an 8-year-old who has a trainer could do it. You see 14, 15-year-olds that struggle. They can't do the simple static stretch of lifting of the ankle grab, the quad stretch behind your body. They're hopping all over the place. They're holding their nose, trying to figure out how to stay balanced. But there's 9, 10-year-olds that could do it with no problem. It's the ankle stability.
Yeah, definitely something we try working on. And I love how you brought that up. So let's kind of progress from off season to preseason, right? So what is the definition of preseason? How far in advance is that? What is a tapering off or peak? You mentioned peak for preseason. What does that look like?
So I'll bring it back to my college career. We always ended. So winter break pretty much ended for us right after New Year's. We pretty much January 3rd got into the gym, and we would train about 1 month. We'd practice 4-hour practices a day before we went, to South Carolina, which was our, I guess our preseason, or just before the conference game started. So we had about, I would say, 6 weeks of hardcore practice. So my strength coach, Vince Sullivan, would preach to me, and it definitely worked. A few of our teammates also were with him as well. We went, our dynamic warm-up was a little longer. Our strength and power phase was definitely there. And our static stretch at the very end was a little elongated as well, just to keep yourself safe. We went hard up until about 2 weeks before the season. And then we continued to do more in-season type workouts, very light. So we tapered off, and we were in tip-top shape at game 1. So that's the point. You don't want to be back squatting 300, 400 pounds 2 days before that season starts, and you're sore, your muscles are sore, and they're not as flexible, and then you're going right into that game. You want to give yourself time to taper off and be 100% by the time the game starts.
Yeah, definitely agree. I know it's a little off topic, but I kind of love how you mentioned the order of the stretching, because I see it all the time, especially kind of relates back to my old question when I first asked you about difference between coaches and trainers. So I see it all the time. My athletes come in and they want to start static stretching before we begin working out. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
Never stretch a cold muscle.
And they'll look at me like, we do this, if our coach makes us do this. I was like, yeah, but don't.
I guess the metaphor that I always was heard was take a piece of frozen meat out of the freezer and try and pull it apart. What's going to happen? It's going to break. It's not going to stretch. You got to defrost the muscle first, and that's the short movement stretching, dynamic stretching.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So for all of our listeners out there, please stop static stretching before exercise. Do it after, when your muscles are nice and warm and ready to go. Dynamic stretching, can you just explain to people that may not know what that is?
Dynamic stretching is short stretching with movement. For example, you're going to bring your knee into your chest and you're going to walk. You'll probably do that about 10 to 12 times. Then you'll do the simple ankle grab like you static stretch. However, it's a 2-second hold and back down, 2-second hold and back down. It increases blood flow. If you just hold that leg up for 15 seconds, it's not really increasing that blood flow and getting you ready for a stressful exercise.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. All right, let's progress on. Let's go. Season hits. You're all pumped. You're coming up to bat. What does your program regimen look like? I want to bring up 2 different sports on this because they are literally so different. These 2 sports for on season. I want to get your opinion on both. First one will be baseball because we're talking about that. And the second one's going to be football because it's a once a week sport, unlike baseball, which is pretty much 20 games a day, it feels like. But break us down what on-season workouts programs look like for our athletes here.
It matters for each sport for sure. In-season workouts, I actually liked getting a light lift the day beforehand. Going through the motions like I did in the off season, but the weight is 70% less. I'm not going to stress my muscles to the fullest extent where you're just getting that last rep out. Very light workout, break a light sweat. It's more about keeping your muscles fresh. I very much believe in training in every plane of motion during the in season. Again, it's going to prevent injury. That's the main thing. Stay healthy and have longevity. Because if you get hurt, your season's done. And especially in high school or college, you don't get it back really. It's just you miss that whole year. So it's definitely important. If any athlete out there has been injured, like it's depressing. You get very upset with it. So sometimes things happen, but prepare yourself. There's no definition for success. You gotta prepare.
Yeah. So what does it look like? You mentioned the light exercise, but is that going to be different for somebody? Let's say in football, where Sunday they have a game. Let's say Monday is like an off day. Then are you heavy lifting or doing more exercising on that Tuesday? What does that look like?
No, a football player is probably going to go through the motions. Quarterback will do some band work, some dynamic stabilization with the bands, internal, external rotations. The light dumbbells, Ys, Ts, Ws, and Ls. They'll alternate heat and ice. They'll throw some light passes, and they'll work on their footwork and agility, and something like that. And of course, dynamic stretch and static stretch afterwards. Something like that is just a light workout and just gets you ready for the game. Maybe an offensive lineman will work on pushing the sled a little bit just to get the blood flowing, but nothing strenuous, nothing that's going to affect you the next day.
Gotcha. Awesome, man. And I just wanted to kind of take everything we spoke about over the last 26 minutes here and really sum up what you should look at for as an athlete, any other advice you may have for anyone listening, and just put it all together for us.
Sure. Love to. So what is your priority? How hard are you willing to work? Are you going to make the people next to you and your teammates actually better? Bring them in. The more lead by example, and that's always what I learned from my father and my mentor, Coach Vince Sullivan. We definitely wanted to make people around you even better as well. Find a good trainer. Definitely train off season, preseason, and in season, and train right. You want to build a foundation as a young kid. You want to increase strength and power as you get later on down the road, and then you can work on your skills. And hopefully, you guys can take it as far as you can in the sport you have.
I love it. And then, of course, last but not least, man, talk us about what Carter's Home Gym is and what you guys are doing. And how can people get a hold of you? The floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you. Actually, and this works great with the athletic conversation we're having here. So pandemic came, I guess that was March of 2019. Sorry. Anyways, trainers had no idea where their career was going to be. Were gyms going to reopen? Were their clients too scared to train with them? So we came up with the idea to bring the gym to your actual home, to your high school, to your business, to your facility, to your physical therapy office. So we took my father's business model. He owns a company called One Stop Properties. He's a commercial landlord and property manager. We ended up buying equipment in bulk. So we have equipment from cardio. We have treadmills, assault bikes, row machines, Stairmasters, you name it. We have bench presses, squat racks, functional trainers, universal home gyms, dumbbells, plates, you name it. And the whole concept of Carter's Home Gym is you are technically renting the equipment under the auspices of a gym membership. For example, one of our customers simply at home had a treadmill, a functional trainer, which are those cable units, and a whole bench press setup with dumbbells, an adjustable bench, and plates. This member pays just about $275 a month, and it's the gym membership in his home. It's for him and his whole family. We had someone on a high school soccer team who decided to get a gym. His whole soccer team and his friends used the gym in his garage. We have a high school that decided to use Carter's Home Gym, and we provided them up-to-date leg presses, treadmills, squat racks, you name it. What Carter's Home Gym does is we maintain and we repair the equipment if ever needed. You have the flexibility to switch the equipment in and out. If someone likes a treadmill because it's too cold outside to run during the winter months, you can have it for 6 months. And then when the weather gets warmer, you can switch it out to something more strength related, because now that customer can run outdoors. Sky's really the limit. One real interesting topic was we have a family that we have as Carter's Home Gym. And the father called me up about a month ago and said, I got to say, this is the most amazing thing. It actually gives me an opportunity to bond with my son on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday nights after work hours. Getting to the gym would have been tough because it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. The kid needs to wind down and go to sleep. I go down to my basement. I work out with him. I teach him. And you know what? He's getting stronger. He needs more weights. I exchange out the lighter weights. Carter's Home Gym gives me the heavy weights. They adjust the billing. And it's just become a really good vibe for me and my family. So thank you. And it was just really nice to hear something along those lines. So Carter's Home Gym, it does it all. We go in-home, we go to businesses, hotels, assisted living facilities. So we put the gym in your facility, your home, under the auspices of a gym membership.
Love it, man. And what's the phone number for that if people want to get a hold of you?
Sure. 516-404-0167.
And thank you, Mark. And thank you guys for listening us to this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.
Thank you.